We're reaching the end of another garden season, which means it's time, or getting close to time, to take these Ollas out of the ground. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can extract them, take them out of the ground, how you can clean them and store them so that you get not only more years out of them, but also so that they work better each year. So let me show you how that works. I don't know about you, but my garden is always looking pretty wild this time of year, which is usually a good sign that it's time to clean up and get the garden kind of ready to go. So I'm gonna come and find my Ollas, and the key here is just to be gentle. They're obviously porcelain, they can break, or not porcelain, they're terracotta. So if you live somewhere with clay soil or hard ground, you may want to put water in here first, like overnight or the day before, because that's going to loosen up the hold that the ground has on the Olla itself. I have really soft ground, so you just kind of turn it first, kind of break it loose from anything that's holding onto it, and pull it out. That simple. It's always fun to look in there and see. I don't know if you can see on the video, but there's lots of roots that have grown around the Olla, which makes sense. And we're now gonna talk about cleaning these. So at this stage, you can see that the Ollas are mostly clean. There are some that are a little bit dirtier, like these couple here, and I'm actually gonna just give those a real light scrub. I don't need them to be super clean. We're gonna show you the next process of cleaning here in a moment, but we want them to look more like this and less like this or this, just because that's gonna dirty up the further cleaning water. Next, use a dry brush to get rid of any big chunks of dirt and debris on the Olla before wetting it down to remove any dust. So when it comes to the secondary cleaning, we're doing this for a couple reasons. The main one is that these Ollas, the terracotta Ollas, the pots themselves are porous, meaning that there's tons of microscopic little holes that allow the water to release really efficiently, which is why they're so amazing. But also that they can hold kind of stuff inside of them, from the season. Not only can they hold minerals from the water, depending on if you're using, treated water or rainwater, but they can also hold fungus or bacteria. And so this is a step. It's not going to totally solve that problem, but it is going to kind of help you get a much more sanitary Olla for the overwintering, so that when you put them back in next year, not only do they work better because some of those holes have been cleaned out, but they also maybe aren't harboring the same stuff that they could if you just let them sit. So what I have here is a bucket of vinegar and water, 1:1 for the vinegar and water, and I also have bleach, 1:9. Vinegar is going to work for almost all of your Ollas, especially if they are relatively clean. Mine have dirt in them, but not a whole lot else. And if they have mineral buildup, this is mineral buildup, any white or chalky looking stuff, the vinegar is going to descale them. It's going to take that mineral buildup away. If you open up your Ollas and you notice that they're slimy, they smell musty, there's like green or black, like slime or mold in them, the bleach is going to be a better route, because that means you might have a fungus problem. Maybe they sat in like wet or in clay soil, heavy clay soil. I have really sandy soil. Mine do not do that, but I am going to show you the bleach process as well. So to start, we'll do the vinegar. If you have a big enough container and enough vinegar, you can soak these. That's going to be the most efficient way to get them, or rather the most effective way to get them like fully cleaned. I'm just going to do, like I said, 1 part vinegar to 1 part water, a gallon of vinegar to a gallon of water. And I'm going to take my Olla and dip it in and just submerge it. And again, I'm going to use the same bristle brush that I was using before to just scrub while it's submerged under the water. And all I'm doing here, nothing fancy, I'm just wiping down the surfaces even further. Again, soaking is going to let more of that vinegar get into the porous spaces. But in the absence of being able to soak, even just kind of getting the vinegar in contact with the surface is still going to make a big difference. So I'm going to do that inside and out for all of my Ollas. I'm going to submerge it once more and bring it up, and then just get the outside good and scrubbed as well. You can be as thorough as you want here. I've done this before without cleaning them and they worked fine the next year, but the better care you take of these, the less you're going to need to replace them, and the more efficiently they're going to take care of your garden for next season. So a little bit of planning ahead can go a long way. So once you have your Oya mostly scrubbed or mostly cleaned, I'm just finishing this one up, then you will want to dry it. If you are doing this with the bleach solution, there's going to be a slightly different process here, and I'm going to show you. With the vinegar, however, again, I'm not going for perfectly clean, just clean enough. I'm just going to set this in the sun. It doesn't need to be rinsed. It's non-toxic. Vinegar is fine. Most of it's going to kind of dissipate. But I'm just going to set it in the sun and let it fully dry. For now, I'll just set it aside. For the bleach solution, again, 1 part bleach to 9 parts water, very diluted. And it's always a good idea to wear gloves when you're working with bleach. Bleach is some pretty nasty stuff, as you probably know, but it's also nasty for the nasties. So it's gonna get rid of the fungus and the bacteria and the stuff that we really don't wanna harbor into our garden for the next year. Another sign you can look for is if you notice that your plants were struggling this year, or if they had a specific thing and maybe you did some research on it and found that it was fungal related, then maybe it's a good idea to just be cautious and make sure that your Oyas are not bringing that into the garden for next year. So same process here. I'm gonna dip this into the bleach solution and I'm gonna start scrubbing. I just want contact on all the surfaces. The bleach is a lot stronger and harsher than the vinegar, so it's even less important that it soaks in it, but it is still good to get it as much time in contact with the solution as possible. Once I'm done kind of scrubbing this down, which will happen in just a second, we're gonna do a second step that's a little bit different than the vinegar. Because the vinegar is less, well, toxic and less strong, you don't need to do anything after, bringing it in contact with the Oya. With the bleach, however, you're gonna wanna let whatever drips off, drip off. And I scrubbed this inside and out, pretty good. Again, perfection is not what I'm aiming for, but it is pretty good. And now I'm gonna dip it in just plain water. And I wanna get as much of that bleach off of the water, off of the Oya as possible. So I'm just gonna kind of dip it in and out a couple times to really make sure that, spin it around a bit, really make sure that it's, there is not any more bleach in contact with the Oya. Same thing at this point now. I'm gonna put it in the sun and I'm going to let these all dry. And then I'm gonna show you the final step, which is just kind of thinking about where you would wanna store these. Make sure to let these Oyas stay out and dry longer than you expect. So don't just wait till the surface is dry, but maybe let them sit out for a couple of extra hours because they do hold water in those porous spaces. If you don't, and there's some moisture in there, and then you store them somewhere where there's some freezing, like in a garage or even outside in a shed, just like if you put something in a container in the freezer, that's, when the water expands, it could break your Oya. So just be thoughtful about that and maybe leave it out a little extra long. A quick word on disposing of these. The vinegar water solution is okay to kind of dispose of pretty much anywhere. You could dilute it more if you, don't want it to affect grass or something like that, but it is non-toxic. It's not going to cause a lot of problems. However, the bleach and water solution, you do not want to dump like in a drain, like a storm drain, or on the side of your driveway. Make sure to take this one to either the, the laundry sink that you have in your laundry room. You could even, put it into like a tub or a sink, but you definitely want it to go through whatever water treatment system you have at your house, because that is not something that you want to dump. For example, I know my storm drains, they flow to the nearest lake, and we do not want bleach in our lake. So just think about that before you dump your kind of cleaning solutions. Once you have your nice, dry, clean terracotta pots, then you can put them in a storage container, and that storage container can go away for the winter. A couple things about storing. First one is when you're stacking them, if they're feeling brittle, like if maybe you've been using them for a few years and they're just not quite as strong as they were when you first got them, a little bit of caution can go a long way. So I often like to take the actual plug that went with that and just drop it in the Oya. And when I stack it on top of another Oya, that plug is gonna stop them from squishing together, kind of banging each other up or getting stuck together. You can also alternatively use some paper towel, some cardboard, something like that, just to keep a little bit of a barrier. It's not necessary, but it might help if the Ollas, like I said, are getting a little bit more fragile. But otherwise, I'm just gonna stack these, one on top of the other in this bin. And this bin stays in my garage, which is not insulated and does freeze, and I have not had any trouble with them. So you can definitely leave it somewhere that's a little less protected. If you want it really protected, obviously bring it into the basement or somewhere that is kind of climate controlled, but it's not necessary as long as you've gotten enough water out of those Ollas. They're ready to kind of sit and be ready for you next year, which I find is exciting. When I bust my Ollas out at the beginning of the year, it's always like, I'm ready to get back into the garden. So I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing. I always try to bring high quality videos about home and garden stuff to you when I'm able to. So yeah, I hope you have a great cleaning up of your garden, and good luck as you get going on the end of another season.